Hello and welcome to Tyrion, Cuthbert, attorney of the Arcane. In the previous episode, everything kind of went terribly. Sybil is dead, and I'm very sad about it. Van Santen is dead, and I'm quite a bit less sad about that. Garrick is dead. Honestly, couldn't care less about that guy. But Arya kind of saw Arya killing people, I think. So and she and she got arrested, which is interesting. Tyrion passed out in the church room where he tried to meet up with Pierce so Pierce could give him the details about Celeste's birth parents. We saw Beatrice there. Beatrice might have killed Garrick. You know, she kind of knocked Tyrion unconscious. Eris was there for some reason. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff, and I probably could have and should have said that in chronological order, but I'm a mess, so my intros are going to be a mess, and my descriptions of the events are going to be a mess, and you'll have to deal with this mess. But yes, let us get into the investigation, and let us start episode 5-2 in the Nave. Okay. Oh, I was talking about you in the previous episode. I thought you might have been the assassin, but I don't think you had the assassin. Oh yeah, there was also an accomplice to Arya that we saw. I arrived back at the Nave, meeting with the necromancer they were talking about. I couldn't stay still, not after discovering what had happened while I was asleep. But he only reprimanded me, telling me that I wouldn't be any good to anyone if I collapsed from an unseen injury. I couldn't really argue against that. Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary. Except... What? What's wrong with him? If you would let me finish... There appears to be a trace of necromancy on you, Mr. Cuthbert. Necromancy? It's probably nothing. Did your assistant cast any spells on you? Oh, right. I used mend runes on him when I found him unconscious. I expected as much, but it never hurts to make sure. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. You're quite healthy. Celeste breathed a sigh of relief as she went to sit down at one of the benches near the altar. She took a deep breath, allowing the knots in her shoulder to unravel. She sat there for a while, eyes staring into space, waiting for the feeling to pass. It seems like the only thing that hit you was that sleep spell. Consider yourself lucky. She didn't even think to check you before trying to heal you. I'd expect a bodyguard to keep a more level head. I just narrowed my eyes at him and said nothing. But I guess no one is ever prepared for when these things happen. I definitely wasn't. You should be fine to go about your business, but feel free to speak with me again if you experience anything out of the ordinary. Thank you. I am Lord Lazaric Asclepius of House Asclepius. Lazaric Asclepius, the young head of 22, yeah, you're young. The young head of House Asclepius, a noble house known for the... Oh, he's the head. That's why it's weird. Okay, well, that's why he's really so young. A noble house known for their knowledge and studies in necromancy. He seems to be friends with Leia Frega. He was wrapped in a large cloak. Every part of him was covered except his face. At first, I found him to be a bit too blunt and standoffish, but it seemed to come from a place of caring. When he checked my body for injuries, his hands and eyes moved efficiently and not carelessly. He looked like someone who is passionate about his work and nothing else. And there are no thanks needed. My apprentice apparently owes you a lot. Apprentice Wallace, I guess. Wallace Nightgrave. He said he was one of your clients a few months ago. Oh, right. Steelwind did mention that she introduced you to. Speaking of, I'm finding it difficult to believe that she did this. Mage blight isn't exactly a benign condition. When it takes control of a mage, it doesn't matter what kind of person they are. Violent behavior is almost a result of the rage-filled delirium it puts them in. It's unfortunate, but mages have to be held responsible when cases like this happen. Unless someone is framing her. Hello, welcome to the game, Lazaric. This is all about innocent people getting framed. Tyrion, I fought her. What? Do you remember back when we heard that weird sound? I went outside to see what was going on. I saw her standing over a bunch of unconscious guards. I tried to ask her what was going on, but she didn't say anything. She just attacked me. She was so cold and emotionless. It almost looked like she was sleepwalking. That, that's actually pretty strange. What do you mean? When someone is affected by Mage Blight, they enter a state of extreme psychosis and rage. Psychotic episodes like that raise the affected mage's paranoia to ridiculous levels. That's why these cases almost always end in violence. But from what Celeste said, she wasn't acting psychotic, she was completely emotionless. You might be onto something, Mr. Cuthbert. If what you're saying is true, there has to be more to this. What are you going to do? At the very least, we need to find out what actually happened. But you saw her, right? Commander White, you need to put me into a holding cell. It needs to be one with an anti-magic field. What? I'm not in control of my emotions. We need to go now. She wanted them to arrest her. But something else was happening here. When Hugh died, this felt far too coincidental to be a simple accident. I wasn't sure where each of the murders occurred, but the Inquisition could tell me more about what happened. There was also Steelwind. If she really was affected by Mage Blight, she would remember what may have caused it. I stood up. There was work to be done, and it was about time I ended my sabbatical. Oh, lovely, lovely. It's kind of weird that Celeste is had so easily thrown Arya under the bus when she spent a lot of time with her. I wonder if Celeste did anything. That'd be strange. Let's see. The investigation. There are still so many unknowns. We should continue looking for more clues. Don't push yourself too hard, okay? I'll be fine. I'm making sure to pace myself. Next lead. Where do you think we should go next? Celeste? Oh, sorry. Did you say something? She was probably still shaken up over what had happened. It'd be best to take the lead and let her focus on her job. Okay. Now, move. We are going to the Rathholm Dungeons, apparently. We arrived at the dungeons to speak with Steelwind, but we didn't see her anywhere. The Inquisition and the Kingsguard must still be processing her. We should come back later. Okay. Well, we haven't investigated this room in a long time. The cell had a barred window. The bars were rusted. If a prisoner tried to escape, there would be a 3-story drop to freedom. I wonder if these are the same lines for all the cases. Lit torches were hanging on the cell walls. It seems a bit irresponsible to light a fire in here. But prisoner safety was probably the last thing on the Inquisition's mind. There was a steel door that led into the cell. A magical mechanism covered by a steel box was placed over the lock. Any magic here?
Arcane.
Nope. Let's move to the prayer room, the scene of the crime. We arrived at the prayer room, and it was now swarming with knights from the Inquisition. I found myself staring at the chalk outline of where Pisa's body once was. Are you okay? Yeah. Now was not the time for an existential crisis. Steelwind's future counted on us figuring out what happened. The Inquisition believes that Steelwind broke into this room, knocked out Pierce and me, and then killed him. But I remember it clearly. I saw Beatrice before I lost consciousness. There was something else happening here. Celeste also fought Steelwind after Beatrice knocked me out, actually. She could tell me more about how she was acting. Let's examine the crime scene. There's a chalk outline where Pisa's body probably was. It looks like he was sitting against the altar when he died. The bloodstain seems to imply that the facial wound came from his chest. An autopsy report would really be helpful there. I needed to ask the commander for a copy of it the next time I saw him. Actually, now that I think about it, we never got to investigate this room in the previous episode either. So this is actually the first time I'm examining this room, period. Let's see. There are lanterns hanging around the room. They're still lit. Well, how nice. There are 3 stained glass windows. They look quite nice. Well, that is unenvironment. That's no relevance to it. There's probably going to be some magic here.
Arcanum.
Okay. Wow. So you could have turned off the white in the Frigga's Study, but you couldn't turn off the blue here. Really, really, Celeste? Oh, right. There's a trace of transmutation here. It's all over the area around his body. Interesting. Did the murderer wound him using the transmutation spell? How do I... Okay, yeah, cool. There are traces of conjuration magic all over the room. That must have been left by Beatrice's sleep spell. I think it's funny to look at, though. No, wait, I didn't mean to...
Arcanum.
Look at all this blue. That's funny how that showed up. Okay, anyway. Oh, I didn't mean to look at that. No. Okay. Back. Talk. The fight with Steelwind. Let's read what happened. Okay, it's a read-through time, class. Before Beatrice knocked me out, we heard a commotion outside, and you went to investigate. Can you tell me more about your fight with Steelwind? What was she like? Well, she wasn't her usual self. It was like she was in some kind of daze. I noticed it before she even attacked me. Something was wrong with her. She didn't even respond to me when I tried to talk to her. It's like she didn't even recognize me. But from what Lord Asclepius said, she would have been acting more erratically if she was affected by Mage Blight. It's possible that you fought someone disguised as her. I guess that's possible. I've sparred with her before, and this was definitely different. But whoever they were, their magic was still extremely powerful. And several members of the 4 pillar families were assembled here. It could have been one of the... Well, is it really fair for you to spar against her, considering you probably beat her every time? We should speak with Commander White when we get the chance. The Grand Cathedral was closed to the public for whatever was happening here. They probably have a list of everyone who was present when the murders happened. That meant that whoever did this was one of the nobles who was here today. Okay. Beatrice Frege. Beatrice can cast invisibility, so I doubt she'd let you see her. But did you see her at any point when you were fighting Steelwind? Celeste? Sorry, I don't know. I was too focused on staying alive. I've actually been meaning to ask you about that. Aren't you really strong? I've never even seen you break a sweat in a fight before. Well, she was really tough. It was terrifying, honestly. I've sparred with her before, but never with magic. Oh, okay, fair. I've never fought someone with spells that powerful before. She didn't hurt you, did she? No, but I got pretty close. I think she realized that she couldn't beat me, so she just ran past me and into the prayer room. So our real target was Pierce. But why? Did you see her the moment that she murdered Pierce? No. When I arrived at the prayer room, I saw you and Steelwood unconscious on the ground. Pierce was already dead. And I'm assuming you didn't see Beatrice anywhere. No, she wasn't there when I arrived. How did she leave the prayer room without Celeste noticing? Did she turn herself invisible? Celeste's testimony. During the afternoon of the murder, Celeste McCoy heard a suspicious sound and investigated the hallway leading to the prayer room. There she saw Arya Steelwind fighting the guards. Arya didn't respond to Celeste's questions and attacked her as well. The two fought to a standstill and Arya pushed past her. When Celeste arrived at the prayer room, she found Tyrion and Arya unconscious, and Pierce was already dead. She didn't see Beatrice Frege at any point during the altercation. So I guess the question... So from memory, Beatrice entered the room at around 2:30, and that was... She entered about 10 minutes after Celeste left. So Celeste left at 2:20, and Beatrice entered at 2:30, and we got led away at 12 minutes past 3. So that leaves about... So there's like a 50-minute window that we're working with here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Hawk, timeline. I fear that they're about to go over right over. I think they're about to talk about exactly what I just said. We showed up at the prayer room for the meeting at 1:50 p.m. Then we interrogated Pierce for about half an hour. That's when we heard that commotion outside, and you went to investigate it. Right. And I think Beatrice knocked me and Pierce out 10 minutes after that. How long did you fight Steelman before she pushed past you? We definitely fought for a while. It must have been at least 20 minutes? After that, she gave up on fighting me and ran into the prayer room. Which means that Beatrice somehow got into the room during your fight. That discounts my theory of her disguising herself as Steelwind. I regained consciousness at 3:12 p.m. That meant that I was knocked out for more than 40 minutes. There were still a lot of unknowns about what happened. I need all the pieces if I wanted to set the board. Anyways, it looked like I found everything that I could here. It was time to move somewhere else. I needed to visit the other crime scenes. Let us go to the common room where... Oh, Jesus Christ. That does not look good. I don't love that. I think this is where Lloyd died. We retraced our footsteps and found the common room. This was the last place I had seen Von Sanctus and Sybil before everything happened. I looked around. The once pure-white room was completely scorched. I could still smell the scent of burnt cloth and flesh in the air. What happened here? Was there some kind of fire? Yeah, we think the perp lit a fire using magic. Oh, hi RM, hey. As we entered the room, Commander White waved us over. He was accompanied by his usual legion of knights. Commander White? Hey kid, you investigating what happened too? We just wanted to figure out what really happened. Huh, you and me both. Nothing about this makes any damn sense. I could honestly really use your help trying to figure this out. Huh. I wasn't sure who I could trust at this point, but like always, the commander was leading the investigation. Okay, let's investigate first, like I always. So, what's this? I saw some here. Even now, the sunlight is shining through the stained glass windows. I'm surprised it didn't break, honestly. It looked like the fire reached them before it was put out. What's this? What is it? What is this? Okay. There are scorch marks all over the room. The fire must have spread pretty far. Yeah, it was probably going for a while. No one even noticed it until Prince Alaric told the Kingsguard that he saw smoke. Interesting. We should speak with him and see if he saw anything else. And the body is... We don't... That's... None for the body. Well, let's detect magic.
Arcanum.
Well, that is interesting. The perspective of this white magic is not perspective in it all. That's funny. Anyway, what's this? There are traces of evocation in a bunch of different spots around the room. We think some of the oil lanterns got knocked over during the massacre. The perp must have lit it on fire with some evocation spells, but we don't know if they did it on purpose or accidentally. And the Kingsguard used a bunch of water-based evocation spells to put it out before the fire spread. Huh. That makes sense. With that knowledge in mind, there's nothing out of the ordinary here. What about the white? What's white? White is not illusion, not evocation, not conjuration, not abjuration. Is it abjuration? Boom. Okay. There's a trace of abjuration magic in the center of the room. Huh. Do the traces overlap with the body? Kind of. It's sort of square shaped. So square shaped? I can't see the traces, but there also seems to be a square shaped outline around the body. You're right. They overlapped perfectly. The area inside the square is a lot less burnt now that I look at it. I'm not sure what this means yet, but it's definitely worth taking note of. Von Sanctus, traces of abjuration. There are traces of abjuration that form a perfect square around the body. The area within the square seems far less burnt too. I also like they're given a name to signify what murder it's related to. That's really nice. I think that's all to examine, so let's talk. The murders. Ugh, this whole situation's a damned mess. Has the Inquisition found any clues to explain what happened? We haven't exactly had a lot of time. We've only just received the autopsy reports. That's still pretty useful. Do you have copies of them? Sure. Knock yourselves out. Yay, autopsy report, Garrick Pierce. Died at 2:45 p.m. in the prayer room. Cause of death was blood loss. A shard of frozen liquid was found stabbed through his heart. It is very likely that this was the murder weapon. The wound also shows heavy traces of transmutation, and traces of conjuration magic were found throughout the room. Well, that's quite an ironic way to die for a Garrick. Autopsy report. Coraline Sybil. Died at 2:18 p.m. Cause of death was suffocation. Her body was found floating in a nearby lake outside of the Grand Cathedral. Traces of transmutation, evocation, and necromancy were found on the body. Autopsy report. Lloyd von Sanctus. Died at 2:05 p.m. The cause of death was suffocation. The fire in the common room burnt the body too much to discern any specific wounds he might have suffered. However, a small trace of evocation magic and a burn mark were found on the victim's left shoulder. This implies that the body was hit with a fire-based evocation spell. Traces of abjuration magic were found on and around the body. Wait, Pierce was killed with a frozen blade? Isn't that similar how he killed Flintharsh McCoy? Sorry, I didn't mean to... No, it's okay. I could imagine a scenario where a struggle happened and the killer used whatever was nearby. However, it still felt like a convoluted series of events. The murder of Garrick Pierce. The Inquisition found a frozen blade impaling Garrick Pierce through his heart. There were traces of transmutation on his blood. This implies that the murderer used shaped liquid to create the blade and murder him, which is oddly similar to how Pierce murdered Flintharsh McCoy. But why would the murderer do this when they clearly had much more lethal spells at their disposal? Pierce used this method during Flintharsh's murder to leave as little evidence as possible. However, it's clear that the murderer wanted to frame Arya and leave as much evidence as possible. Interesting. Anyways, the times of the death also tell a story. So Lloyd died first at 2:05, then Sybil at 2:18, then Garrick at 2:45. Purely based on the times of death, the murderer must have killed Von Sanctus, then Sybil, then Pierce, in that order. I will say something that's interesting is that... What time? This one? Coraline died at 2:18. What? Did we not get a time? Never mind. Okay, so Coraline died at 2:18. And that Celeste started fighting Arya at 20 past 2. So that's 2 minutes. So Arya kills Sybil. So Arya kills Sybil. Kills Sybil at around the balcony. Runs over to the common room in 2 minutes. Fights Arya. During that time, Beatrice walks in at 1:30. And actually no wait, the prayer room. The Arya runs over to the prayer room in 2 minutes. Beatrice sneaks into the prayer room at 1:30. Then 10 minutes later, in that time frame, Beatrice sneaks out, and Celeste and Arya run in, and Arya kills Pierce. Okay. Yeah, that's our working theory. Well, it's not really a theory. If Von Sanctus died first, well, if Von Sanctus died at 2:05, Sybil died at 2:18, and Pierce died at 2:45, it would have... That's factually what had to have happened. Unless you're like, Oh, they attack Sybil, then they kill Von Agnes, then they finish the job with Sybil. But like, why would they do that? No, it's not a working theory. It is the truth. Oh, okay. Thanks, Tyrion. Thanks for making a nice, more cinematic version of this. Okay, here we go. If we look at this map, we can see where the prayer room and the common room are. Lady Sybil's was found in the Lady Sybil's body was found in the lake west of here. The Grand Cathedral was built on a cliff. There would be only one way for her to reach the lake in such a short amount of time. How did Sybil's body end up in the lake? Sybil,
What if?
the murderer threw Sybil from the balcony. The Grand Cathedral was built on a cliff over the lake, and the westward balcony just happens to be right over it. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. We even have a witness who saw Steelwind there. Really? Who was it? It was the High Speaker, Theon Arceus. High Speaker? He's the short caller of the Church of Bahamut, and he stands at the top of the religious hierarchy from what I hear. He spotted Steelwind near the west balcony and noticed that she was acting suspiciously. He called out to her, but she ignored him. So she knew that he saw her, but she didn't attack him? Yeah, this whole Mage Blight story doesn't really add up. Either way, we'll just have to talk to him directly to find out more. Pushing that aside, there's something else that's strange. What's that? It's about the order that the murders occurred in. What's strange about the order of the murders? Since the times of death, the murderer must have killed Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce in that order. That means the murderer went to the common room, then the west balcony, and then finally the prayer room. The weird thing is, so common room, it's quicker. They went to the common room, went over to the balcony, then went to the prayer room. But they could have just gone from the common room to the prayer room in the balcony in that order without retracing their steps. But if we look at the map, the murderer's route seems a bit strange. The murderer could have killed Pierce second. The murderer must have passed right by the prayer room before they dumped Sybil's body. Why wouldn't they just murder Pierce on the way there? Maybe they wanted to dump Sybil's body first. Or they were afraid of fighting me. Weren't you giving yourself a little too much credit? Weren't you the one last episode who said we weren't paying Celeste enough? No, she has a point. Out of everyone who fought the murderer, Celeste was the only one who didn't die or fall comatose. Anyways, there has to be a reason why the murderer deliberately chose that route. The murderer's route. Judging from each time of death, the murderer went from the common room to the balcony and then to the prayer room in that order. However, that wasn't the most direct route. There has to be an explanation for that. I'd created a rough outline of the murderer's actions, but the real clues would lie in how each of the individual murders occurred. First, I need to figure out how Von Sanctus was murdered. Okay. I was wondering if we were just leaving, but no, okay. How were the bodies discovered? When did they discover the bodies? Who came across them? It all started when Prince Alaric ran up to us. He told us that he saw a fire breaking out in the common room. He also saw Steelwind there. When he tried to talk to her, she hit him with some kind of spell. She attacked one of the princes? Yeah, but it didn't sound like she hurt him. Lord Asclepius inspected him, and he told us he wasn't injured. I'm glad he's okay, but wouldn't Arya have used a more violent spell if she was afflicted with Mage Blight? It's possible that she was throwing spells randomly, and he just happened to get really lucky. I suppose that's possible, but was there anyone else nearby when this happened? I would have expected the Prince of Wyvengard to be under constant guard. Yeah, that was kind of my mistake, but come here. Don't tell anyone because I want to find out as good if anyone else, so don't tell anyone it's my fault, but like, it was kind of my bad. I ordered the knight to give him some space, considering what had just happened. And that would be... Sorry, kid. If you don't know, it's not my place to tell you. I have orders from the top to stay quiet about that. Then I would need to ask someone higher up. It was still strange, though. Esther! Why were all of these nobles gathered here?
Anyways, whenever the perp hit them with, it only put him in a daze. He could barely walk or talk. He couldn't even approach us until the spell had worn off. The weirdest thing about it was that he should have been pretty close to where we were, but for some reason, we didn't find him until after the spell wore off.
That must have been traumatic. I hope he's okay. But why did anyone see him during this time? Was he invisible?
After he told us about what was happening, we went to put out the fires. That's when we saw a bunch of guards knocked out of the side of the prayer room.
Did you see me?
No, this all happened around 3:10 p.m.
Right. That was well after Steelwind moved into the prayer room. Celeste must have already followed her into it. The report. The Inquisition discovered something was wrong when Alaric the Wifengard reported that a fire had broken out in the common room. He also told them that Arya Steelwind cast a spell on him earlier that severely debilitated his senses. When the Inquisition arrived at the scene, they spotted the unconscious guards outside the prayer room. They did not see Celeste McCoy and Arya Steelwind. This all happened at 3:10 p.m. I wonder why the game felt the need to specify that Celeste and Arya weren't seen. Like, I feel like that's more of a fact, so I wonder if there's going to be more to that, because that feels like a very odd thing to specify. Considering they should have stopped fighting at around 23, so that's a half. So, and we already know that it would have been half an hour after they started fighting. So why would they have seen them? It just feels very odd to point that out. The comatose guards. When you arrested Steelwind, I recall you mentioning that a bunch of guards were comatose. Did the murderer use some kind of spell to knock them out?
They didn't. I'm just as lost as you were about that. Some of the victims didn't have any magical traces on them. We know that they're not under the effects of a spell, but they still haven't woken up.
That's odd, to say the least. Is there any common thread between the knights who fell comatose? That might help us deduce what happened to them.
Well, we found all of them near the common room and the prayer room, all the locations where Steelwind was spotted. That can't be a coincidence.
So it wasn't random, yet it wasn't the effect of an arcane spell. Comatose knights. Several knights from the Kingsguard were found unconscious after their bodies were found. They have been unresponsive since the massacre. All due to a lack of magical traces, they are clearly not being affected by any kind of arcane spell. Arya Steelwind. Commander White. You keep saying the perp instead of Steelwind, even though everyone else seems to think that she was responsible for this. Do you also suspect that she's being framed?
It just doesn't add up. If she did give herself Mage Blight, her actions wouldn't have been so deliberate.
And she's definitely not the type of person to just go around murdering people.
Even if she was, she's led a lot of the Inquisition's investigations recently. She's investigated plenty of homicides with us, and she knows exactly how we do things. Whoever did this got the job done, but they were sloppy about it. A bunch of witnesses saw her. She didn't even try to hide herself using magic. So she either had Mage Blight, which doesn't match with her behavior, or she did this intentionally and want to get caught. Neither scenario makes any damn sense.
Someone has to be framing her. That's the only reasonable explanation.
Honestly, I'm not sure about that either.
What do you think happened? Because what other scenario is there? If she's innocent, someone's framing her. And if she's guilty, then that makes sense. So what do you think happened if you don't think someone framed her? What do you mean?
You saw her when we arrested her, didn't you? She wanted us to get to lock her up. It's like she thought she was a danger to herself and others.
Right. That's the same impression I got as well.
If it weren't for the witnesses' statements, I'd be sure she gave herself Mage Blight. The strangest thing is that I've never seen her that scared before. Something really rattled her about what happened.
Interesting. Beatrice Frege. Did you follow up on what I said about Beatrice? I know she was in the room when Pierce and I fell unconscious. She has to be involved in this somehow.
Well, she's already in prison, so we're already ahead on that account. But when we asked her about what happened, she said that she couldn't remember anything.
That's such an obvious lie. She has to be hiding something.
Normally, I'd agree with you. But she's not the only one with missing memories. Steelwind also can't remember anything.
What? I just have to speak with her about that later. Anyways, what about Eris and that knight who was guarding her? Did they see anything?
Sorry, kid, but Eris Ilmater has been missing since everything went down.
What?
I wouldn't be too worried.
A witness to the crime scene is missing and possibly hurt.
Look, kid, you may be a hotshot attorney, but I've been in this business a lot longer than you have. Sometimes when these things happen to civilians, they get spooked and run away. I've seen it a million times.
Eris was the daughter of a crime lord. I doubt she was in any rush to speak with law enforcement.
We don't have the resources to look for her, but I'm sure she'll turn up eventually.
Well, I suppose we can't do anything about that now. Anyways, what about the night guard and Beatrice? Surely he didn't go missing as well.
That's the thing. The knight who was supposed to be watching her was one of the guards who went comatose. We found him in front of the prayer room too.
Wait, did he follow Beatrice to the prayer room? I kind of lost consciousness for a second. So what did I just say? The night who was supposed to watch, there was one of the guards who was comatose. He followed.
To make matters worse, that fragrant chick knows how to cast invisibility. So even if she was telling the truth, very few people would have actually seen her.
Beatrice's actions. A knight was assigned to guard Beatrice and kill her if Marion attempted to escape. He was later found comatose in front of the prayer room. Eris Ilmater, who was also with Beatrice when she disappeared, has also been missing since the massacre. Would you happen to have a recent version of her spell compendium?
Sure, we already have it on record.
Beatrice's spell oh, that's a lot of spells. Beatrice's Frigga spell compendium. It contains the formulas for the following spells: Familial Bond, Sleep, Mend Wounds, Send Message, Animate Corpse, Necrotic Blight, Shatter, Invisibility, Feign Death, and Illusory Disguise. Okay, here we go.
Familiar Bond. The caster forms a magical unbreakable bond with a target creature, connecting them to the caster's magic. While this bond exists, the caster can telepathically communicate with the target over any distance. The caster can also choose to see through the target's eyes as long as they concentrate. Any spells that affect the caster will also affect the target creature and vice versa. Lastly, the caster can also cast spells from the location of the target creature instead of their own location. Mend Wounds. Heals the wound of the target over the caster time. Wounds of the target are magically healed without leaving any scars or bruises. This spell can't restore missing limbs, nor can it revive someone who's already died. Send a message. For the duration of the spell, the caster projects a voice to communicate with the target. Anyone within a 30-foot radius of the target can hear the caster's voice. The caster can also hear sounds close to the target, allowing for two-way communication. The target must be a person known to the caster. That person must also be conscious, otherwise the spell will fail. Alternatively, the target can be an object as attuned to the caster's magic. Animate Corpse. Reanimate the target using life energy, creating an undead minion for the duration. The minion follows the caster's orders, while its intelligence is limited and it cannot speak. The minion can end its spell prematurely, but will only do so if ordered by the caster. Once the spell is ended, the undead will return to being a dead body. Necrotic Blight. Cause all of the life energy from the target, resulting in instant death. This spell does not wound the target, nor does it leave any physical evidence, but it still leaves a magical trace. Blighto. Shatter. Channels the caster's magic into any physical object they are touching with their hands. If enough magic is channeled, the object may shatter or break. The intensity of this spell will exponentially increase while they are concentration. However, Vanish. Invisibility. One of the highest forms of illusion magic. The spell makes the target's creature or object completely invisible. While invisible, the target will be completely transparent and undetectable visually. If targeting a creature, this spell will also affect anything that the creature is wearing or holding. Feign Death. The caster must target a creature that's already unconscious. While they concentrate on the spell, the target will appear to be dead. The target creature will stop breathing and their heart will stop beating. However, the life energies of the spell will keep them alive for the duration. Illusory Disguise. Places an illusion on the target to completely change their visual appearance. The disguise can move with the target for the duration. The disguise can make the target look 1 foot larger or smaller. Elements hidden by the spell are made visible, and elements created by the spell are purely visual. You cannot make physical contact with us.
Right. I forgot how many spells you used during Lord Frigga's murder. Oh god. What was that? What was this one? However, channeling larger quantities of magic will slowly drain the caster's stamina and possibly cause mage blight. Okay. Okay. The first victim, Lloyd Von Sanctus. It's all a little difficult to take in. I still can't believe it. After everything he did, Von Sanctus was just murdered.
I'm surprised to hear that from you. Didn't he basically get away with almost blowing up your hometown? The way I see it, he got what he deserved.
That's just right with me. No matter who the victims might have been, No one deserves to die like that.
Hmm. You're definitely a bigger man than I am.
Anyways, Von Sinus's autopsy report said that he died of suffocation.
We think that the murderer overpowered him and choked him with a rope or something.
That hardly sounds like something someone would do during a psychotic episode.
Yeah, the more info I collect, the more I think you might be onto something. But either way, the fire that the perp started in this room burnt his body. It didn't completely turn into ash, but there's not a lot left.
Huh. So that fire would have burnt away any evidence of the minor wounds he had.
Yeah, we're lucky we even discerned he was hit with an evocation spell.
Right. The autopsy report mentioned that too. But if a fire was started, is it possible that he died from smoke inhalation?
No, the divination spell we use always identifies smoke inhalation as death by poisoning, not death by suffocation.
I suppose that kind of makes sense. Oh, okay, so he didn't die of smoke inhalation then, that's interesting. Spell compendiums, oh god, here we go. While we're at it, do you have records of each of the victims' spell compendiums? They might help us understand what each of the victims was doing during the attack.
Sure, knock yourselves out.
Pierce's spell compendium. Garrick Pierce's spell compendium. It contains the formulas for the following spells: Prestidigitation, Conjure Light, Conjure Water, Frostwave, and Shape Liquid. A pretty Sybil's spell compendium. Coraline Sybil's spell compendium. It contains the formulas for the following spells: Slow Fall, Foresight, Strike True, Detect Magic, Stone Skin, and Mend Wounds. Okay, here we go. Von Sinus's spell compendium. Lloyd Von Sinus's spell compendium. It contains the formulas for the following spells: Mage Blade, Force Cage, Send Message, Stone Skin, Mend Wounds, Familial Bond, Teleport, and Summon. Oh god.
Prestidigitation. The caster creates a symbol that harms visual effect around their hand. This effect will last for as long as they maintain concentration on the spell. Conjure Light. For as long as the caster concentrates on the spell, a mote of magical light will be centered above their head. The color of the light is chosen by the caster and can be changed at will for the spell's duration. This mote of light provides illumination of the flipping feet of the caster, and no further. Well, light didn't restrict however. Conjure Water. Causes water to magically flow out of the caster's hands. This water will flow so long as the caster maintains concentration on the spell. Frostwave. Anything caught within range is hit with a blast of extremely cold air. Liquid hit will be immediately frozen and organic life will immediately enter stages of hypothermia. Force Cage. For the duration, the caster creates a magical 10 by 10 by 10 foot cube around a target within 30 feet of them. The walls of this cube are impenetrable and can be destroyed by anything, not even by spells that can normally spell spell effects. Furthermore, any attempts to magically teleport into or out of the cube will fail. If there is more than one creature in the target space, they will be punished, they will be pushed away from the center of the cube. Mage Blade. For the duration of the spell, the edges of this object, usually a blade, become unnaturally sharp, making it more effective at slashing through soft material. While under the effects of the spell, the object emits a yellow radiant glow. The target object must be no larger than 5 foot cube. Snowfall. The caster counteracts the force of gravity affecting them, causing them to fall significantly slower when airborne for the duration. Foresight. The caster invokes the ultimate form of divination magic to see brief glimpses of the near future. While this spell is active, the caster is able to sense danger seconds before it actually happens. Strike True. The caster increases their ability to predict the results of all of their actions for the duration. This is useful for the purposes of aiming or doing other activities that rely on dexterity and skill. Detect Magic. While concentrating, the caster can see the normally invisible magical traces left by magic. Magical traces are created 2 times when the spell is cast. The first is created at the position of the caster when the spell is cast. The second is created when the spell effect resolves or dissipates. The caster can identify skill and magic from any trace by color, as in invisible mind, guys. Prepare your Arcane. Evocation red, Transmutation yellow, Conjuration cyan, Divination pink, Abjuration white, Necromancy purple, Illusion green. Stone Skin. The caster creates a thick layer of stone around the body of a target within 30 feet. The stone layer will deflect and protect the target from any physical trauma. The stone layer can be slowly broken through continuous attacks, for as long as the caster concentrates on the spell, the stone layer will instantaneously repair itself. I think this is what we saw on Science on Sybil last episode. Teleport. Allows the caster to teleport to any position within 100 miles. If the caster targets a spell focus or magic circle designed to receive teleportation, the range at which they can teleport is unlimited. If the position that the caster tries to teleport is occupied by any physical object, they may briefly appear at that position before the spell fails. Summon. Allows the caster to summon an object from a position within 15 feet of them. The target object must be attuned to the caster's magic using the spell focus. If the target's position is occupied by any physical object, the summoned object may briefly appear at that position before the spell fails.
Okay. Well. Oh god. That's a lot to work through.
Yep. This is what happens when a bunch of mages are caught in the middle of a murder. Honestly, you've been lucky until now.
Nevertheless, I'll need to look over each of these spells while they become Christ. I'd found everything I could relate to Von Sinus's murder, and also the will to live. It was time to move somewhere. To the balcony. We arrived at the west balcony of the cathedral. Supposedly, this was where the murderer threw Sybil's body into the lake. Oh, hello there. As I inspected the area, I caught the attention of an old man nearby. From his garb, he appeared to be someone who worked in the cathedral.
I don't believe we've met before. What are you doing here?
Sorry for the intrusion. I'm Tyrion Cuthbert, and this is my bodyguard. We're investigating the murders on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. Tyrion Cuthbert. I have heard of you. He doesn't look nearly as criminal as I expect him to be. He probably hadn't heard anything good.
But forgive my rudeness. I am Theon Arceus, High Speaker of the Church of Bahamut.
Theon Arceus, the devout leader of the Church of Bahamut. I don't think I met anyone who reveres the Scaled Lord as much as he does. So you're the one who saw Steelwind here during the murders. Do you mind if we ask you some questions?
I suppose there would be no harm in that.
Let us examine first, though. What's this? Okay. This balcony provides a perfect view of Lake Gallicrond. A lot of people probably come here when the Grand Cathedral is open to the public. There's some sort of debris on the ground. I picked up one of the pieces and rolled it around in my palm. It appeared to be some kind of gravel. Anything else? No. Any magic?
Arcanum.
Yeah. There are some traces of transmutation on this debris. That would imply that a spell specifically targeted or created whatever this came from. I doubt someone intentionally created these bits of gravel. It must have broken off something or for something else. Debris near the balcony. You found some bits of art-like debris near the westward balcony. They have traces of transmutation magic on them. This also happens to be where Theon Arceus saw Arya Steelwind dump in Coraline Sybil's body. Is Stone Skin a transmutation spell? Yeah, it is. So I'm guessing that there was the Stone Skin around Sybil. Arya pushed Sybil off the balcony. Sybil drowned, and the debris is from the Stone Skin, or that was the armor of stone around her body. Why was Sybil? Caused there was suffocation. So yeah, she drowned, so she suffocated in the lake. What did you see? We heard that you saw the prosecutor acting strangely here. Could you tell us more about what you saw? Did it look like she was afflicted with mage blight?
I wouldn't go that far, but she was certainly acting strangely.
How did you come across her?
Well, I was on my way to the prayer room. I always recite prayers for the draconic texts around that time.
He was heading to the prayer room?
When I saw her, I first thought she was just enjoying the view of the lake. I was about to greet her, but when I approached her, I saw that she was pushing something off the edge of the balcony.
You must have seen her dump in Sybil's body.
You're probably correct. I came to that same conclusion after they found that poor woman's body below us. But it feels wrong somehow.
What is it?
I only saw it for a second. Lady Sybil was wearing much brighter colors this morning. Whatever Lady Steelwind threw into the lake, it looked much darker.
What does that mean?
I'm sorry, I can't really explain it. Perhaps I was just seeing things. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be after all. It could have been a trick of the light.
Arceus' encounter. Theon Arceus was on his way to the prayer room to recite his prayers. On his way there, he spotted Arya Steelwind throwing something off the west balcony. He wasn't able to see what he threw, but after Coraline Sybil's body was found in Gate Gallicrond, he assumed the object must have been Sybil's body. However, he could have sworn that he saw something darker, but he's still not sure. Talk. The prayer room. Wait. If you saw Arya dump in Lady Sybil's body, she must have just murdered her. That means you must have been heading to where we were at that time.
Oh, were you praying there with Lord Pierce?
Well, not exactly.
What? That's not what the guards told me.
The guards? Do you mean the ones that watch outside the prayer room? Yes, they told me that Pierce was praying with some acquaintances of his. They said the same thing to Lady Steelwind as well. Wait, Steelwind was there too? Yes, she appeared to be waiting for something. I didn't want to disturb them, so I went back to my quarters to pray there. The High Speaker didn't see her fighting with Celeste. She must have set her attack after he left, but why would she bother waiting? Either way, we can't exactly question those guards. Yeah, they're still comatose after the attack. Huh, interesting. Why didn't you hear anything? Actually, the High Speaker's quarters aren't that far away from the prayer room, are they not? I mean, like, it's not that far away, but out of the whole building, there's not really much places further. Maybe like they're over here by the garden. But like, other than that, did you hear the fight between Steelwood and my bodyguard? It must have been because of the magical wards in my room. Magical wards? Are they there for security reasons? Not exactly. I actually suffer from chronic insomnia. Even the smallest sound will wake me up at night. Years ago, I had some mages enchant the walls so sound can't travel through them. I can't hear anything from inside the room once I shut my door. That did sound awfully convenient, but I doubted he'd lie about something so easily verified. Soundproof room. Supposedly, Cian Arceus suffers from chronic insomnia and can be woken by even the smallest sound. As such, the walls of the High Speaker's quarters are completely soundproof once he closes the door. This should explain why Arceus didn't hear the fight between Celeste McCoy and Arya Steelwind. I found everything I could here. It was time to move somewhere else. Where to now, though? The nave? We were here. We were here. We were here. Let's go to the nave first. Okay, no. Well, we started here, so let's go to the garden then. We'll go to the garden, then I'll go to the nave again, then I'll try and end off in the dungeons. I was dreading having to face that statue again, but despite knowing better, I returned to the garden.
It's staring into my soul.
Then stop looking at it! The Crown Prince was sitting on a bench nearby. Several members of the King's Guard were standing at attention around him. His brow was furrowed. He didn't even seem to notice us as one of the knights stepped in our way. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert, and Miss McCoy too. What are you still doing here? We're trying to investigate what happened. I see. Are you okay? Yes. I was just thinking about how unfortunate this ordeal has been. I do hope Lady Steelwood is taking this well. Right. She was his fiancée after all. We're trying to find out what exactly happened. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? I see. Well, I'll do whatever I can to help. Steelwind's trial. You said that you two were investigating the murders. Were you planning on defending Lady Steelwind? If she'll have me. She may be a competent prosecutor, but I have a far more experience defending clients. Unfortunately, I think the situation is more complicated than that. What do you mean? Several house leaders died today. We can't release this information to the public, not after the news of William Frager's death has already spread. In the course of 2 months, we've not lost one, but 3 pillar heads. But the trial has to happen soon, or else the magic traces left will disappear. From what I've heard, we will be holding the trial, but it will be handled privately and internally. And I'm sorry to say that you won't be permitted to serve in such a trial. Would you be able to pull some strings for us, Aster? I'm sorry. I'd like nothing more to give you the opportunity to represent her, but I clearly have a personal attachment to this case. If I try to tip the trial in her favor, it will only harm her chances. Even if I can't directly defend her, we can still investigate the crimes on her behalf. Yes, I would really appreciate that. If new evidence is found, perhaps we can exonerate Miss Steelwood on the charges against her. The gathering of nobles. After everything that's happened, I really need to know. Why were so many nobles gathered in one place anyways? All four of the pillar families were present. I understand if you don't want to tell me, but this information could be vital in figuring out what really happened. Truth is, we all gathered to mourn the death of my father, King Olivia the Wyvern of the Night. Wait, the king is dead? Yes. We wanted to avoid releasing this information to the public, so close to the death of William Frege. My father has been ill for quite some time, so we were prepared for this. Or at least, I thought I was. I also lost my mother when I was quite young, but it's all still a little hard to take in. I'm sorry. You have my condolences. Thank you. But if King Olivia is gone, that will make you... Yes, you currently stand before King Aster the Wyvern, the ruler of our kingdom. The words came out hollow. It sounded like he was more than just his late father. No wonder so many nobles were gathered here. They came under the guise of paying their respects, but I'm sure they just wanted to get close to the new king. Ironically, I think only House Frege came to genuinely give their condolences. Funny. Beatrice Frege. Speaking of the Freges, I think you need to know. I saw Beatrice before I was there. Well, yeah, he knows. He was in the room when you said that. Oh well, that's not a scary look at all. I think she may have been the one who killed Pierce. Ugh. Why would she be there? I'm sorry. I know she was your friend, but we already know she's not above committing murder. I see. I suppose if you're saying it, it must be so. But what possible reason would she have to be involved like this? Maybe I'm just crazy, but that, why would she be there? Felt a little less shock and more like irritation? Almost? I don't know, that felt a little off. I'm not sure yet, but I plan to find that out. Arya Steelwind. By the way, where were you during the murders? I remember you left with Steelwind when Celeste and I arrived at the cathedral. Yes. Steelwind and I left to speak with the High Speaker, Arceus, in his quarters. What was your mission about? It was actually about our wedding. When my father's death, the Grand General demanded that we make our union official. Oh! I would congratulate you, but considering the circumstances, I understand, and I appreciate your words nonetheless. Anyways, how long did this meeting last? I believe we spoke with him until 1:40 p.m., but Van Zag decided at 2:05 p.m. That means she began her rampage less than half an hour after that meeting. Was there anything off about her behavior? Now that you mention it, something about her demeanor changed. We were speaking of the wedding when she abruptly left. I asked her where she was going, but she ignored me. That sounds similar to what happened when Celeste fought her. There's no way she was affected by Mage Blight. Marriage meeting. From 1:15 to 20 to 2, Aster the Wyvern and Arya Steelwind spoke with the High Speaker Atheon Arceus about their upcoming wedding. At 20 to 2, Steelwind abruptly left the meeting and didn't answer Aster when asked where she was going. I honestly didn't think much of it at the time. I'm quite used to her giving me the cold shoulder. Right. What did you see? What happened after your meeting with the High Speaker? Did you see Steelwind after that? Actually, I felt myself caught up in something else entirely. At 2 p.m., I went to pay my respects at my father's coffin. But apparently, someone had set up a magical trap there. What? It was a glyph of contingency. Glyph of contingency. When casting this spell, the caster must choose another spell they already know. The caster casts that spell, but the contingent spell doesn't come into effect. Instead, it takes effects when a certain condition specified by the caster upon casting the spell is fulfilled. The contingent spell takes effect immediately when that condition is fulfilled. I read that masterfully. I have heard of that spell. It's like a trap you can set. You can infuse any spell into it. But it requires a contingent spell to place that trap. Which spell was it? It was a force cage targeting me. Was the murderer trying to attack Aster too? I don't think so. They would have used a more lethal spell if they wanted to. From the sounds of it, force cage can't be dispelled. So Aster would have been trapped inside of it for that full hour. We think that someone was used as a distraction. Because of that trap, the Kingsguard consolidated most of their attention and forces in the nave. As a result, there were fewer people guarding Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce. And the ones that were there all fell comatose. They can't tell us what happened to them. The trapped king. At 2 p.m., Aster the Wyvern Guard went to pay his respects at his father's coffin. Unbeknownst to him, however, there was a glyph of contingency set to trap him inside a fourth cage. The trap triggered, and Aster was trapped in that magical cage for its duration. This caused the Kingsguard to consolidate their forces at Aster's location. As a result, Lloyd Von Sanctus, Coraline Sybil, and Garrick Pierce were left with far fewer guards defending them. And yet, another inexplicable event was added to the list. After everything I learned, I knew for certain that Steelman wasn't afflicted with Mage Blight. Someone must be behind this. Anyways, he probably didn't win this much after he was trapped by that forced cage. It was time to move somewhere else. Okay. So with that, we're learning much more about his crimes. Let me read the condition. Because obviously at the crime scene of where Von Sanctus died, there was a weirdly shaped square. Which implies that forced cage was used on him as well. Which is this one? Yeah. Force cage, a magical 10 by 10 by 10 foot cube, so that would leave a square impression on the ground. The walls of this cube are impenetrable and can't be destroyed by anything, not even by spells that can normally dispel spell effects. Furthermore, any attempts to magically teleport into or out of the cube will fail. So if Von Sanctus was in a force cage that he created himself, and the murderer created a fire, he could have suffocated in there, I think. But what I don't get is how that would have... Well, according to Orem, if he suffocated due to smoke inhalation, then that would have counted. That it would have said that he was poisoned in his autopsy report, but it did say suffocation. So, what I'm curious about is how did he suffocate if he died from smoke inhalation? Because I think he was in the force cage, then the fire filled up the room, it filled up the cage, he couldn't escape and he died. So he just suffocated, but that should have said poisoned. So I don't really know how that works. Then there is... Actually, no, that's all I want to talk about. I don't know why. So let's move to the nave, and if nothing happens there, we'll go to the dungeons. Okay, here we go. She attacked a member of the royal family and killed several nobles. What else is there to investigate? The laws are clear about what we must do. We should execute her immediately. Alaric, the situation is of far too much import to make such rash decisions. We need to approach this calmly and carefully. As we returned to the nave, I spotted the young prince stomping around as he argued with the nobleman I saw earlier. Now that I thought about it, he was the only person here I didn't recognize. Oh, it's a Yota, Your Highness. And I don't think we've been introduced. Huh? I see you're still as insolvent as ever. You stand before Sir Remus Vergley, Archduke and Royal Advisor to the Wyvern Guard throne. I believe he means advisor. What did he say? Oh, Royal Advisor. Advisor. Remus Vergley, a mysterious lord who appears to be close to the royal family. Apparently, he's the royal advisor to the King of Wyvern. I wonder why I've never heard of him before. Archduke. I didn't even know the Kingdom of Wyvern had a title like that. Why hadn't I ever heard of him before?
Why are you two still here anyways? I thought the cathedral was closed for the investigation.
We're just investigating what happened on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind.
I see. Anyways, I have much to attend to. I'll be taking my leave.
Actually, since we have you here, we'd like to ask you some questions. Both of you. You should know your place, knave. Talk. What did Vergley see? Your Grace, where were you when the murders took place? So what are you trying to insinuate?
Please, Alaric, there's no need for that. To answer your question, I was speaking with Lady Frega's familiar.
I was saying Marinette. Tracker.
No, it was the demon who calls himself Marinette.
What?
He was actually the one who sent for me. According to him, he had some information that was of great import to me.
Did you make a contract with him?
Of course not. He gave me the information he had freely.
Why? Demons are supposedly always trying to trick humans into making deals with them.
Looking back, it must have been a distraction. What a fool I was. I knew he was playing with me, but I knew he was unable to lie. And the information he had was too important to ignore.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the information about?
I'm sorry, but I won't reveal what he told me. It would be a danger to everyone here. But rest assured, it had nothing to do with the massacre.
Your Grace, we've only just met. I can't exactly take your word for it.
I suppose that's fair, but believe me when I say I plan to take this information to my grave.
That was ominous, but he was clearly intent on keeping their conversation a secret.
Anyways, members of the King Guards were watching us. They can verify my alibi.
How long did the conversation last?
I arrived to speak with him at 10 to 2, and I didn't leave until 10 past 3.
So an hour and 20 minutes, wow. Vergley's alibi. The demon Marinette called Archduke Remus Vergley to meet with him at 1:50 p.m. He apparently had very important information that Vergley couldn't ignore. Vergley spoke with Marinette until 3:10 p.m. The members of the Kingsguard guarding the demon can verify this. So he was accounted for during the time frame of the murders. But why would Marinette go to the trouble of distracting him in the first place? Whoever orchestrated this also used a fourth cage to trap Aster. Were they trying to distract the forces in the cathedral? Or were they trying to keep certain people out of the crossfire? Steelwind spell. Your Highness, we heard that the prosecutor cast a spell on you when you saw the fire in the common room. Can you tell us more about what happened? I can't believe she attacked a member of the royal family. She was completely irresponsible with her magic. I understand your feelings about this, but we can't say for certain that she inflicted mage blade on herself. We don't even know if it was actually her. I saw her with my own eyes. Plenty of other people did too. Either way, where did this happen? It was on the path outside the common room. I saw smoke coming from the building, and I saw Steelwind walking away from it. So it is right. So there's like outside bit, and the common room is a building. Okay. So this must have been after she murdered Von Sanctus. I have a feeling I already know the answer, but was she behaving erratically? No, she very deliberately cast a spell on me. Which once again implies that Mage Blade was behind this. Do you know which spell she cast on you? I'm not sure. I've never been affected by a spell like that before.
From the magical traces on him, we know that it was a transmutation spell.
Transmutation spells manipulate and change physical matter. It's scary to think about what that might do to a human body. Are you sure he's okay?
Lord Asclepius inspected him, and he didn't appear to have any lasting injuries. We're hoping the spell's effects were only temporary.
Can you describe what you felt like while you were affected by it? That might help us identify which spell it was. Well, I was extremely dazed, and my ears were ringing. My vision was also partially blurred. It was as if my mind was in some sort of fog. Whenever I tried to speak, I couldn't even form words with my mouth. I could only make grunting sounds. I couldn't walk either, so I had to crawl on the floor. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That must have been traumatic. But what kind of transmutation spell would do that to him? It had to be something that affected his senses. Steelwind's demeanor. You already told us that she wasn't doing it. She wasn't acting erratically, but was there anything off about her demeanor? I only saw her for a moment, but she was definitely different than usual. She was completely emotionless. Yeah, that's exactly what she was like when I fought her too. She was like an arcane construct. Her movements were almost robotic. Wait, are there any arcane constructs on the cathedral grounds?
No, not for lack of trying on Lloyd's part. The High Speaker and I have specifically forbidden the staff here from using them.
Huh. Wait, who? You and who? High Speaker, okay. Huh. It would have been really convenient if all of this was done by a construct. Anyways, was anyone else around when Steelwind cast that transmutation spell on you? No, she moved away quickly after she incapacitated me. And even if someone was around, I don't think I could have seen them anyways. Alaric's testimony. Alaric the Wyvern Guard saw Arya Steelwind exiting the common room. He saw that a fire had started there, but when he asked Steelwind what was going on, she cast a transmutation spell on him. This spell blurred his vision and put him in a daze. His ears were ringing, and he was unable to speak or walk properly. He could only move by crawling on the ground. Strangely, no one saw him while he was in this state. I will say, I do think that Alaric was the assassin, and that he killed Von Sanctus while in this daze. I'm not sure what spell was used, and I'm not sure how it made him feel this way while he was mind controlled, but I'm assuming the spell somehow like mind controlled him and he killed Von Sanctus while under his mind control. Commander White also said that he was surprised no one saw the prince until after that spell wore off. What happened to him? That covers Alaric's kind of what happened, and we even got the Archduke's statement too. But there's still one last person we need to speak to, okay? Time for the last convo of the episode. Oh yeah. She and Beatrice supposedly have no memories of what happened. If it were only Beatrice saying that, I'd probably doubt it. But if Steelwind also doesn't have any memories, it becomes a lot more credible. She definitely has the missing piece we need to put this together.
Are you going to the dungeons to speak with her?
I am.
Wonderful. I'll be accompanying you.
What?
As the royal advisor, I have a vested interest in the investigation. While I trust Lucio to leave no stone unturned, I hear you have quite a talent for seeing what the crown cannot.
Huh. Well, follow me, sire, to the Redham dungeons. The way I don't talk, move to the Redham. Oh, Lara, you're on the screen now. Come on, let us go. Move, travel on. We arrive at the dungeon and find the prosecutor walking around her holding cell. Several papers with haphazardly scratched notes were scattered around it. She was pacing back and forth, head lowered in contemplation as she stared at one of them. She didn't even notice us until I knocked on the bars to her cell. Mr. Cuthbert, and your grace. Steelman's eyes stayed on the Archduke before it turned to us. Oh my god, so how are you doing? I know a lot has happened today, but how are you feeling about it all? As best as I can, all things considered. What brings you here? We're trying to investigate everything that happened. I see. I was wondering if you could answer some of our questions. Huh. Steelwind, I know your situation is pretty grim right now, but you know you can trust me. I know, But at this moment, I don't know if I can even trust myself. What? Huh? What happened? We heard that you don't have any memories of what happened. Is that true? It is. No matter how much I try, I can't recall anything. What is the last thing you remember? I believe I was leaving my mission with his high speakers and his majesty. After the mission, I was planning to return to the nave to speak with my father, but I suddenly felt something churning inside my stomach. I thought some fresh air might help stave off the nausea, so I went to the balcony.
The one over Lake Galakrond?
Yes, that one. The last thing I remember was losing consciousness as I looked at the lake. And did you cast any magic before this happened? No, I didn't. Huh. Are you sure you don't remember anything after that? I don't. All I remember is waking up to the sound of someone sobbing. It was Celeste. It seemed that you just regained consciousness, Mr. Cuthbert. Oh. Steelwind's testimony. Arya Steelwind has no memories of what happened after she left her meeting with Theon Arceus and Aston the Wyvern. After she left the meeting, she began to head to the nave to meet with her father. However, she suddenly felt nauseous and went to the westward balcony. She lost consciousness soon after. She later regained consciousness in the prayer room shortly after I did. She heard Celeste McCoy crying over me. She did not cast any magic before she fell unconscious. Magic that can affect the mind. I feel like we've completely ruled out Mage Blight, so I doubt that's why you can't remember anything. Are there any other spells that can specifically modify or destroy people's memories? It would certainly explain a lot of this. No, arcane spells can only affect the physical world. But throughout history, mages have attempted to develop spells that can affect the mind. There's no recorded history of any of them succeeding.
You can assume that arcane spells are only the type of magic that exists.
Huh.
I think you've observed it already. There are magical creatures in this world that don't use arcane magic. Isn't that right, Mr. Cuthbert?
Huh. I am not sure what you're trying to imply.
If I learned that Lumina had any hand in this...
Your Grace, I'm not an agent of the Theocracy. And even if what you're saying is true, I wasn't the one who manipulated Steelman's memories. But I suppose you raise a good point. If something affected Steelman's memories, it wasn't necessarily an arcane spell. In fact, it couldn't have been an arcane spell. It was definitely something else. You're probably right. Which proves that I'm responsible for the murders. What? Arya did this? You just said that you don't have any memories of what happened. Why are you so convinced that you're responsible for this? I told the Inquisition already. I saw Beatrice before I passed out. She's clearly involved in this somehow. There's more to this than you realize, Mr. Cuthbert. For the past few months, the Inquisition and I have been investigating a string of seemingly unrelated murders. According to those cases, we were able to apprehend the perpetrator without issue. But there was always something off about them during questioning. The murders were always abnormally gruesome and passionate, and each of the perpetrators had the same thing. They all said they had no choice. No choice? Cases like this have been occurring throughout Wyvern, and very little connects the perpetrators to each other. All except one thing. Each of them acted as if someone had controlled them against their will. They were probably just desperate. Most murderers make excuses after they're caught. They could even just be in complete denial. All of them said the same thing, but these cases were far too similar for me to ignore. I wondered if they were telling the truth. Perhaps each of these murders was committed by an unknown party. I didn't have any concrete evidence, but I knew I was getting close to something. What is this? Well, the Purple Conspiracy. Thanks for spoiling the name of this. I was hoping that it would have been like quotation marks, and it was like something. Steelwind. I don't mean to sound rude, but it sounds Completely insane. You don't have any physical evidence to prove these murders are connected. There's one piece of evidence, but it's hardly concrete. But it does tie each of these cases together. She took out a small parchment from her pocket and showed it to me. It's a purple symbol. Several of the people we arrested had an item with the symbol on it. None of them could remember where it came from, or even what it was. But they all somehow knew it was called the purple mark. Well, the purple mark is a pretty easy name to reach for. That's what I feel like that's what a lot of people could come up with. But there has to be an explanation for this. It could just be some esoteric superstition that we don't know about. If that's true, then ask yourself one thing. Where did I get this parchment from? You don't mean... I found it in my pocket after I was properly confined. The symbol must be a calling card of some sort. For all I know, they could have controlled my body and forced me to draw this symbol myself. The massacre of the cathedral is related to it. The purple mark is some sort of strange symbol. Arya Steelwind calls it the purple mark. She thinks it has some sort of relation to her mind control conspiracy. Supposedly, this mark has been found at the scenes of several gruesome murders throughout Wyvengard. Arya felt like she was close again to the truth. When she regained consciousness after the massacre, she found the paper with the symbol in her pocket. Well, that's not creepy at all. Arya's face. Well, Arya, you're probably gonna die then. Sorry about it. Bye. Go back. I dismiss what you said, but
This definitely won't hold up in court.
nor should it. If my mind has been compromised, I can't take the risk of leaving this dungeon. Otherwise, I could end up harming more people. Well, you can't exactly spend the rest of your life in this dungeon. Wait. Are you serious? What about Aster? Weren't you two supposed to be married soon? He's the king now, and you can't rule Wyvengard alongside him from a holding cell. You're correct, but he's always been a remarkable person. He should have no problem finding another suitress. I must think of his well-being too. Arya? No. What? Your plan is terrible, and I hate it. Okay. Well, what a nice thing to say. I'll just defend you and figure out what happened. Easy peasy. Just like that. I'll defend you. You'll be found innocent. Everything will go great. You're going to get married to Aster. Everything will work out perfectly. Mr. Cuthbert, I am not going to risk more lives. If I would have hurt His Majesty, I would never be able to... Please don't ask that of me. Steven Steelwind's future. Argument. Steelwind was going to throw away everything she cared about. Even if she was the one who did all of this, she's not the one who was responsible. I wouldn't let her resign herself to a fate like this. Yes. Psychological profile. Steelwind acts for the greater good of the kingdom, regardless of the amount of suffering she must endure in doing so. She cares deeply for Aster and will do anything to protect him. However, she's still a rational person and will be receptive to logical arguments. Steelwind, are you seriously going to throw your life away? If it were necessary, I would give my life for this kingdom. If someone control my actions today, they can and will do so again. A villain controlled my mind. And as long as that possibility exists, I can't trust myself. Deflect. That's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible for what happened, then we need to find out who they are. They're still out there. But let's assume when this person can continue to do so. We don't know how this mind control works. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. Do you even understand what you're saying? You lose everything. So it's not treason. Let's write doubt. Yes, okay. But that's assuming that person can still continue to do so. You said so yourself. You haven't found any evidence to prove your theory. We don't know how this mind control works. We don't even know what this magic is. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. So yeah, Eris just did all of this, right? That's what's going through my head right now. Eris did all of this. Ah, I suppose you're right, but I doubt there was any goal to this. The person responsible was just a sadistic killer. I've been investigating these murders for months. The person behind this is a sadistic individual who wanted to cause as much suffering as possible. There's no way to connect him to this. If someone's testimony is an Alaric. Yeah, I would guess Alaric because Alaric is still alive. Yeah, okay. That's not true, Steelwind. Whoever did this had very specific targets in mind. Both Prince Alaric and the High Speaker saw you when the murders were being committed. Not to mention, they set a trap for Aster. What? Let's assume that someone was controlling you. They wouldn't have left Alaric, Arceus, or Aster alive if they were trying to cause as much suffering as possible. I suppose you have a point there, but even so, that hardly narrows things down. If someone were controlling me, they wouldn't need to enter the cathedral to use me. The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. Perhaps you're right, and the perpetrator only wanted to murder 3 victims. There's plenty of people who might want to see those 3 dead. The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. Okay. What? I don't know what we're like. Let's see. Oh, wait. Is this right? Let's try this. I knew it, because the glyph of contingency needs the spell to be finished. Yes. There's one thing you're overlooking. Before the murder started, someone trapped Aster within a forced cage using a glyph of contingency. But it didn't harm him. It was probably just a distraction. Even so, this gives us 2 very important clues. The first is that whoever did this was capable of casting those 2 spells. So this means that the perpetrator was either a mage or working with one. That's true. But the second is the most important one. Whoever set that trap for Aster, they did so within 24 hours of its triggering. The Grand Cathedral was closed to the public. This means that the perpetrator must have been someone who attended the funeral. So it was one of them. That narrows down our list of suspects substantially. There's a chance we can identify who did this. And if they really did control your actions, we can find a way to prevent them from doing so again. Steelwind, you need to fight this. I can't. Why not? Fighting this will put people in danger. If we pursue an individual like this, they might retaliate even more than they already have. They wanted to remove me from my position. How will they react if I try to resist? They might hurt even more people to send a message. It's far too dangerous. Appeal. We can't back down in the face of injustice. If we let the perpetrator get away with this, we're letting them know that their actions will go unanswered. I doubt someone would go that far. They might decide to lay low and wait for things to die down. Whoever did this had a goal far bigger than you, and you have no guarantee that it'll stop here. Who will they target next? Your father, the king? So I'm gonna get threatened because we're saying that Aster could get hurt regardless. Yes, whoever did this had a goal far bigger than you, and you have no guarantee that it'll stop here. 3 nobles died today, and 2 of them were near the top of the political hierarchy. What if they decide to go after more victims? Who will they target next? Your father? The king? We need to catch them before they can do more harm. I know you're frightened about what happened to the people close to you, but we can't let someone this dangerous get away with this. When you put it that way, I suppose I have no other choice, do I? Flawless! And I still remember the time that I almost lost to Headmaster Redmond. And I lost to Von Sanctus, but I beat Arya, Case 5, flawlessly, like it was nothing. Great. I never realized it before, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You really have a bad habit of butting your nose into other people's business, don't you? Yeah, I suppose I do. But you're right. We can't let this go. I'll find a way to dispute this. Somehow. Thank you, Mr. Cuthbert. I think we've known each other long enough. You don't need to be so formal. I successfully persuaded Arya Steelwind.
Okay, here we go. Another chat. Saving Steelwind's future.
I know I agreed to fight this, but what is it? You're the most qualified attorney in the nobility. You'll definitely be able to make a case for yourself. As you probably know, House Sybil controls the legislative and judicial branches of our kingdom. And they've nominated my father as the prosecutor for my trial. What? My theory of mind control is not substantiated by the evidence, and we can't blame another kingdom's magic because of that. Everyone believes that I overspent my magic and gave myself a mage plight. As a result, the blame for House Steel wins. As a result, they blame House Steelwind for the Minister of Justice's death. Now, the only way for him to redeem House Steelwind is to convict me and sentence me to death, like my mother all those years ago. But he's your father! There's no way he would. This isn't the first time something like that has happened. When I was a child, my mother accidentally overused her magic and induced a mage knight with herself. I wonder if the same exact thing that happened to Ophelia all those years ago that happened to Arya and all the other Purple cases today. I wonder if that's what happened. And I wonder if that's why Lucio prosecuted her back then and why Lucio is prosecuting Arya right now. I wonder. In her resultant psychotic episode, she massacred an entire village of commoners.
Scale Lord.
House Steelwind almost lost everything after that. To redeem himself, my father personally oversaw my mother's trial and her execution. That's what happened? My father values his duty to Wyvengard over everything else. Nothing matters more to him more than that. Not even his family. I'd like to have confidence in myself, but I don't know if I can face him like this.
Mr. Cuthbert, what is your stake in all of this?
What?
You hate the nobility, don't you? So why are you so intent on helping Miss Steelwind?
Because she's innocent. What else is there to say? Mr. Cuthbert. It doesn't matter if she's a noble or a commoner. She's being oppressed by the politics of her kingdom like all of my other clients.
Well said.
What?
I, Remus Verkley, hereby grant you the privilege to serve as Miss Steelwind's counsel. As the royal vizier, I will be acting as the judge and arbiter of Miss Steelwind's trial. I wonder what a vizier is. And why did you correct Alaric earlier? If he said royal vizier, so why you correct him for not saying advice? Okay, whatever. It is within my right to grant you such permissions.
I'll gladly accept. If Prosecutor Seal would have me, of course. Of course. There's no one else I would trust more with this, and this honest smile, that's sweet. And please, you've done a lot for me already. You don't have to be so formal. Celeste's already taken to calling me by my first name. But since you'll be defending me, you'll probably need this. Oh god, here we go. More spells. Arya Spell Compendium. Arya Steelwind Spell Compendium. It contains the formulas for the following spell: Mend Wounds, Firebolt, Shape Liquid, Dispel Magic, Steelwind Strike, Detect Magic, Polymorph, and Hold Creature.
Firebolt. The caster launches a fiery projectile that high enough to inflict third-degree burns. This projectile can travel 120 feet without collision before its magic dissipates. Once it collides with something, it will set the object ablaze if it's flammable. Hold Creature. The caster completely restricts the movement of the target. While concentrating on this spell, the target will be unable to move any part of their body. Even subtle movements, such as the gestures required to caster themselves, are impossible. As a result, the target will also be unable to move their mouth to speak. Steelwind Strike. The caster strikes targets on their choice within a 40-foot radius with a slashing force. Each slash has the smite and the power of a mage blade, and can cut through thick metal armor. It's the ultimate spell of House Steelwind, and its spell format is a closely guarded secret. Polymorph. The caster transforms a target within 30 feet of them into an animal. The animal can be any creature that can fit within a 2 by 2 by 2 foot cube. For the duration, the target's senses and intellect will also be changed to match that of the animal they are transformed into. Dispel Magic. Choose any magical effect within 120 feet. The spell that is creating that effect immediately ends, unless the target's spell is immune to being dispelled. However, this only ends the spell's effect. It does not undo the effects of the spell. For example, dispelling the shape liquid on an affected liquid will only prevent the caster from further manipulating the liquid. It will not unfreeze the liquid or change its shape back to normal. Okay, with that said, let's look at all the spells that we have going into the first trial. Oh,
Let me just read that.
Then it's settled. We will hold the trial at my home, the city of Ladon.
Genie Mac. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is 30 spells. Are you kidding me? Oh, this is given. Brain is melted. Gonna great. This is hard. Okay, let's look at the firebolt. So if a firebolt collided with a force cage, I'm not sure if a force cage is flammable or not, honestly. But more importantly, what's hold creature? I think hold creature was used in Sybil's murder, and firebolt was used in Von Sanctus's murder. Yes, sir. Point index finger downwards. Incantation Fetura. And hold creature would prevent them from seeking. So Sybil has the stone skin on her. Arya uses hold creature on her, so she can't fight back. Arya pushes off the edge, and Sybil sinks down to the bottom of the lake and drowns. Von Sanctus uses a force cage to trap himself from the assassin, and Arya uses firebolt to create and strikes the force cage many times until the room lights up with fire and Von Sanctus suffocates. I am still unsure about why his autopsy said suffocation and not poisoning, but that's something I will figure out in the next episode. Ladon.
Speak with Lucio. He knows the location.
Well, why can't you just tell me the location, Virgile? Why can't you just do that? Okay, you're just gonna vanish off screen, okay? Fine. Before I could ask any more questions, the Archduke left without a word. He really had a bad habit of just walking away from conversations. Oh yeah, also, I kind of completely forgot that Pierce is a murder we have to look into. Why is it? The Inquisition found a frozen blade. Okay, so they already know what happened to him. They found the frozen blade in his heart, so they already know what happened to him. He had a really bad habit of just walking away from conversations. Who is he? I didn't even know Archdukes existed in Wyvengard. Today was the first time I met him as well. What? How did you know? I'm sorry. Who is this? Is this Virgil Legate just a sham? How are you confused? How did you? He seems to be well acquainted with my father, though. Well, I guess that is an issue that we'll have to resolve after the triple homicide is dealt with. Okay. He's just like any other judge. Is that it? I had no idea what I was in for when I agreed to this. And what proceeded next would be unlike any trial I'd ever defended or prosecuted. But I would save Arya's future, no matter what it took. Regardless of what I'd have to risk to do so. Okay, well, it's a little bit ugly to have the text box on screen right before I save, but regardless, it is time to save our progress, and that means it's the end of this episode. Okay. So, like I just went over, so many spells, I want to kill myself. It's so bad. I think most of the spells are going to be irrelevant, which I don't mind because it's testing us to actually use our brain to work through which spells are relevant to the case and to whittle down the information to what's relevant. So, I believe the killer. Well, I'm just going to say Arya, but obviously everything I say is with the caveat that Arya is being manipulated. So Arya goes in. Lloyd uses a force cage on himself. Arya uses firebolt. He dies of suffocation. I'm unsure why. Like I just said, I am sure why the poison. Why I said suffocation, not poison, but that's something I'll think about later. Runs to the balcony, pushes off Sybil. Uses hold creature. The stone skin around Sybil causes her to sink to the bottom of the lake, and because of the hold creature on her, she can't use any spell to undo the stone skin. In fact, Arya might have also used dispel magic on Sybil, so she couldn't undo the stone skin on her. So actually, Arya uses the spell magic on Sybil. Then she uses hold creature. Sybil can't move or do anything, nor can she undo the magic. So then Arya then pushes Sybil off the balcony, which is why what the high creature, whatever the high speaker saw was darker because he saw the stone skin around Sybil. Sybil falls off the cliff and then sinks to the bottom of the ocean, bottom of the lake, and then drowns, which is why she's suffocated. And then Pierce, I honestly have no idea what happened to Pierce. Someone, let's just say Arya ran in and stabbed him, because that's simple, and I like simple. But with that said, tomorrow we're going to prove everything I just said, and maybe figure out how Pierce died, or why the autopsy report said Von Sanctus was suffocated and not poisoned. But with that, we're going to end this episode here. I enjoyed investigating today. It was a very interesting investigation. I like how there's all the different murders and we have to learn about all of them.